Hey guys, it's Sarah. I'm excited to get started. We've got about 5 minutes for people to jump on, and we will get started on talking about doorbells. So I do want to just, while we're waiting for people to get on today, we ordered pizza because it's been a crazy day. So I have been, oh my goodness, can you go away? I don't want to hear you. Dog, she's pretty gross. This is, I don't know if you can see her, this is Skippy. She is the loudest dog. She breathes heavy and she snores and she just is pretty wild. Anyways, we ordered pizza today because it's been crazy. So I have been off of my leg. I had knee surgery like 6 weeks ago. I don't know how this works. Sorry. Okay. Oh. Okay, so as you get to know me, you'll know that I've got a little bit of a scatterbrain. So anyways, I've been off of my leg for knee surgery since the beginning of November. And so my dogs have gone downhill with some of their manners because we're just not able, I'm not able to do as much with them. So over the last 6 weeks, as the doorbell has rang and the dogs have like lost their mind. So just because, I just want to preface this for everybody, just because I'm a dog trainer doesn't mean that my dogs are perfect, and it doesn't mean that we've achieved things and we haven't backslid. So we are heavy duty in backslide with my dogs. So as soon as I'm able to be up and moving around a ton, it's going to be lots and lots and lots of reviewing of things because I can now follow through on them. So as we're going through everything, feel free to add comments, ask questions. We're really going to go over kind of this process of how to make the doorbell not so exciting. I'm really, really, really excited to go over this because this is a problem that I think a lot of people have, at least at some point in their lives, or maybe like myself multiple times. So I think I've gone over this with my dogs probably 4 or 5 times, and when I don't keep up on it, they definitely backslide. So I've got a couple more minutes. Does anyone have any questions or anything for me about anything while we wait till 7 o'clock? All right. So I know most of the people in the group, but for the people that don't know me, I have been training for 8 years professionally. I grew up and started dog training when I was, I think, probably 12 in 4-H. And I had this big fuzzy black dog named Buddy who was quite dog aggressive and quite men aggressive. And I decided that he was the perfect dog for me to go ahead and show in 4-H. And so we made it one season before he was retired because he tried to eat the judge during confirmation. So I showed another dog. Her name was Annie for probably 4 or 5 years after that for my whole high school. For most of my high school, I was showing in 4-H obedience and confirmation. I'll tell you what, it's boring. I see why people get excited about AKC sports and things like that, but man, I feel like the obedience portion of it is just really, really boring. If you're going to get into any of those AKC sports, like rally, obedience would be like my go-to if I could do it all over again. And then I've absolutely loved agility. Unfortunately, there's not a really great trainer over there, but agility is a blast, especially for the dogs that are like struggling with some confidence. I love doing that with my dogs. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started because I've got a lot to cover. So, doorbells. When the doorbell rings, we've kind of naturally, unintentionally taught our dogs that it's time to go crazy. So the doorbell rings and our dogs start barking, and then maybe we start telling them to quiet. Maybe we yell at them to knock it off. Or sometimes we're like running around chasing them, trying to get them, holding their collars so that we can go open the door and let the people inside, while our dogs are still going crazy. So a lot of times this doorbell chaos is taught unintentionally because we add to the chaos. So we don't mean to, but as we yell or we chase them around, it definitely feels like we're going crazy, they're going crazy. And I have a poll that I want to put up here, but I don't know how to do it. Where did it go? I guess I don't know how to do it. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of stuff. Like, I'm really good at Zoom now, but Facebook Lives I'm not so good at. So here is the poll I wanted to put up there. So those of you in the comments, when the doorbell rings, what response do you get? Do your dogs go crazy and you can tell them quiet and they stop? That's the first. Or second, is it bark, 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 bark? They start going crazy. We maybe chase them around a little bit. Maybe we're yelling. Maybe it's just like a madhouse. What does it look like at your house when the doorbell goes off? So you can put a 1 or a 2 in there, or you can just type some comments in and let me know what it looks like at your house and what the biggest struggle is that you're dealing with. Okay, so I was saying this beforehand when I was waiting for people to pop on. I've been off of my knee. I had knee surgery at the very beginning of November. So I graduated a class and then I went right into surgery, and I've been down for 6 weeks on Wednesday. So my dogs, when the doorbell rings, the experience is much different. So typically we got to the point where I could say quiet and my dogs would stop and they would be quiet and we could get to the door and things like that. Now, me not being able to get up and enforce things, it is big and loud. And the difference I have done is I don't say anything to them. So if I can't tell them quiet and enforce it, I don't say quiet anymore. So this afternoon, the pizza guy dropped off some pizza, and so the doorbell rings, the dogs start freaking out, and I go to the door, I open it, I get the pizza, and we move along. And I am trying not to add to that chaos, even though I know I really want to. So the doorbell rings, my dogs start barking, that triggers something in me, and I want to just yell at them to be quiet, knock it off, stop, because something inside of me says dogs shouldn't be barking. And so what has to happen when we have this chaos at our door with that doorbell is make that doorbell not something that means anything to the dog. So right now that doorbell means get excited. We need to bark. We need to be loud, because that's what we have been doing for so long. So there's a few different things that we can do. I'm going to go over kind of what a doorbell desensitization process would look like. So again, when that doorbell rings, the dogs go crazy. Maybe we start shouting. Maybe we're chasing them around, trying to grab them and hold them back. We just added to the chaos and we made it even more exciting. So what we need to do here is make that doorbell not exciting. So I was working with somebody over the last few weeks I got a progress note from him a couple days ago, and we were working on this doorbell desensitization as well as the garage door. Anytime his garage door would go up, the dog would like lose its mind. And so we were working on the doorbell and we were working on their garage door. And so he said the garage door was going really well because he had that opener and he would just open and close it throughout the day. Now the doorbell, I usually will have someone just play like a doorbell compilation off of YouTube. You can Google like doorbells, and I just will hit play and I'll go do something else. He said that wasn't working for him, so he just got his phone out and he recorded his own doorbell quite a few times, and then he could press play. So you can do this however you want to. So you can go look on YouTube and try and find some doorbell noise, or you can record on your own phone and be ready to play it. So we are going to start on day 1 to teach our dogs that the doorbell doesn't mean anything. And so for me personally, when the doorbell rings and my dogs start barking and going crazy, I feel a little crazy in my brain. So I have a really hard time not projecting my reaction on my dogs. So what we need to do, and this is for everybody so that we're not giving any feedback, even unintentionally, is we're gonna press play with that doorbell, either a YouTube thing or our own recording of our doorbell, and we're going to press play, let it go for 10 minutes, and I'm going to leave the room. I usually will go jump in the shower, or I'm going to go outside while my dogs are inside. I don't want to be around them at all because I don't want to be feeling that anxiety that for me that builds when my dogs are freaking out. I want the doorbells to ring over and over and over again so that they are just hearing the doorbell, they're losing their mind, but there's nothing that I'm doing that gives them any feedback, meaning I'm not yelling at them, I'm not chasing them, I'm not even going to the door. So going to the door, so if I have a dog that just gets really overexcited about the doorbell, and they're maybe not like freaking out about it, but like when we invite people in, they start losing their mind. You can do this as well, because, and next week I'm going to do a live and we're going to chat about that overexcitement at the door. But if you're dealing with that, you're going to want to do this doorbell desensitization. So feedback from us is not going to be yelling or screaming or running around and trying to grab them so we can open the door. And then we're not even going to go to the door. So this doorbell is going to ring, wait 10 seconds, ring, wait 10 seconds, ring. And our dogs for the first day are probably going to lose their mind a little bit. I'm going away so I don't have to listen to it. We just want to repeat that process for the first couple of days. So the first day I'm going to do 10 minutes, I'm going to press play, and I'm going to leave. Every time that doorbell rings, the dogs are probably going to get really excited and bark and bark and bark, and then nothing's going to happen. No one's coming and hanging out with them, no one's yelling, no one's chasing them around. That's the whole goal, is to get them to hear that doorbell over and over and over again, and then get zero feedback from people. No one's at the door. We're not getting into this excitement match with our dogs. Does that make sense to people? Kind of the goal of what we're doing with like a desensitization program. I can move through it fairly quickly. And I have a guide that I'll send out. You can message me if you want that guide at the end of our time together. Just make sure you shoot me a message and I will make sure I send the guide over to you by tomorrow afternoon so that you can kind of go through what I'm talking about. You got some concrete papers that you can look through and read and start applying. So the first day, we're just getting our dogs used to this. 10 minutes, I leave the room. Day 2, it's the same process, but I'm going to do it for 20 minutes. I'm going to hit play on my phone, let 20 minutes of the doorbell ring, and I'm going to leave the room so that I am not freaking out because I hear them. They are not getting any feedback, and we're really just teaching them when the doorbell rings, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean I'm going to the door. It doesn't mean we're barking and yelling and having chaos. That's all we're doing with this whole process. And like I said, most dogs go through this fairly quickly. So day 1 and day 2, we're doing that same thing. And then we're going to move into our day 3. So on day 3, we're going to hit play on that doorbell and we're going to let it go for about 10 minutes. And I'm going to stay in the room, but I'm going to completely ignore the dog. So if they are going crazy, crazy, crazy. I am doing something else. I'm going to go wash the dishes. I'm going to start the laundry. They're losing their mind, but they still see me around, but I'm not giving any feedback. And again, I'm not going to the door at all to even attempt to open it, because really all we're doing is the doorbell means nothing to me. It should mean nothing to you. So on day 4, we're going to move to playing the doorbell for about 10 minutes. And now here's what we're looking for. We're staying in the room again, and we're going to be watching to see if they are doing this huge reaction or if it's starting to be more of a calm experience. So if they're still reacting and going crazy, we're going to go back to day 1 and we're going to repeat that process again. We're going to go 10 minutes while we're gone, 20 minutes while we're gone, and then we'll be in the room again for 10 minutes, and then we're going to repeat that process. If we get to day 4, the doorbell is playing for 10 minutes and the dog's like, okay, not that big of a deal, that means we're ready to move on. So until we get to that day 4, when again the doorbell is played over and over and over again in that loop, we're not moving on until we have like this calmness. Because if we move forward when they're still over the top crazy and excited, we're not going to make very much progress, because we still haven't gotten to them to the point where they understand that the doorbell doesn't mean anything. So we have to, when it comes down to the dogs that go crazy at the door, and and this can again be, it's not necessarily barking and going crazy, but like this overexcitement. The doorbell rings, the dog knows a person's going to come in, and they start losing their mind because they're like, oh my gosh, someone's coming in. And then when the people come in, they like lose their mind and they go crazy and wild. If you have a dog like that, you're going to want to do this as well, because we want them to think that the doorbell has no association now with us opening the door and letting people in. The doorbell means, okay, whatever. So once we get to day 4, if your dog is still crazy, you're going back to day 1. If your dog is not going crazy, we're going to move on to day 5, where you're going to now have one of your kids or a friend or a significant other or whoever you want to, that are going to go outside. Your dog's not going to know, so put your dogs outside in the backyard, have them go out the front door, wait a few minutes, and then they're going to bring the dogs in. You're going to have them ring the bell and stand at the door, and they're going to ring that doorbell every 10 or 15 seconds. And again, we're not going to go to the door, we're not going to give them any attention, but now it's our doorbell, like actual doorbell ringing, and there's someone at the door. So we're going to do that, probably have that doorbell ring every 10-15 seconds for about a minute or 2, and then you're done. You don't have to do this for like 10 minutes or anything like that, especially since it's cold. But we're just going to now incorporate our actual doorbell and actual people. Now again, I'm not going to go open that door yet. So on that day 5, once we start doing that, you can leave it at that. We've made it so the dog is no longer super excited about this doorbell, and we can move into next week. I'm going to come on and we're going to talk about some how to help with some of that overexcitement when people are coming in the door. This is the first step though. So if your dog is overexcited when people come inside, you're going to want a doorbell desensitize your dog no matter what. It's a fairly easy tool for the dogs that are just going crazy. The dogs that are really just barking and like have severe anxiety about the doorbell, this might take a little bit longer, but most dogs get it fairly quickly. So on day 5, we can now decide what we want the dog to do when the doorbell rings, and now we're going to kind of just shape this behavior. The doorbell rings, we maybe start utilizing that quiet command, and we just expect our dogs to calm down and be quiet so we can go to the door and let people in, or whatever it is that we're going outside, bringing a package in, whatever it is. When that doorbell rings, our dogs, it's not as big of a deal. We're able to use that quiet command, have them quiet, and we can move on with our life. Or some people really like to have that doorbell ring and they have their dog immediately go to a spot or a place or into an automatic downstay. So it's up to you what you want to do. So if you want them just to start quieting when that doorbell rings, you're just going to have that doorbell ring. You can even just play it on your phone a few times a day. Ding dong. If they start barking, give them that quiet command. You can utilize the vinegar if you need to, or the vinegar water if you need to, and then we just move along. We're never going to make this a big, excited, like chaos party again. Is the doorbell rings, maybe they bark, okay, cool. And then we tell them quiet. So honestly, for me, when it comes to doorbell or door manners in general, it's unrealistic to me to expect my dogs never to bark at the doorbell. Now, for me, what isn't realistic, I don't want them barking and barking and barking and kind of getting into this crazy headspace with it. So if we're running into that issue, we need to desensitize to that doorbell, but at the same time, we need to come up with what is okay for the dog to do when the doorbell rings and what you don't want. So in our house, I like a couple barks at the door when that doorbell rings, because I do want people to know that we have dogs in the house. I want them to know that they're big and they sound scary. They're not, they're two golden retrievers, but they sound quite loud and scary. And I want people to know that I have dogs in my house. Now, I don't have napping babies anymore, but when I did, we got to the point where I hear the doorbell ring and I could tell them quiet before they started barking, and we wouldn't have the barking happening. So I wasn't having to deal with my babies being woken up by my dogs. So there's a lot you can do with that doorbell sound. So my rule in general is you can bark all you want until I tell you to quiet, and then at that point, if you haven't quieted, there's a consequence. So for me, I use a quiet command. I say quiet and that's all. So they can bark 10 times, but once I say quiet, that's when it stops. And the beautiful thing about that quiet type command is if I have like my babies sleeping, I can say quiet before they even start barking. So I hear that doorbell, I just yell quiet, and they don't start, because once the word quiet has been said, there's no barking after it. So if you are working through that barking at the door and you want to utilize that quiet command, it really does come down to a lot of consistency when we follow through with that. So if you have multiple dogs, you can do the desensitization with them all together, and then you can have 2 of them put away and 1 out, and I'm going to just spend 2 minutes and we're going to work on the quiet command alone, and then I'll switch them out and I'm going to bring another dog out and I'm going to work on the quiet command with this dog alone, and then I'm going to switch them in and out until I've worked on that quiet command with each of them. So how I teach the quiet command is, do you hear that? That is my dog snoring. Hey, Skippy. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you can't hear it. It's so distracting for me though. With my quiet command, they're bark, 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 bark. I'm going to tell them quiet, and they're either going to stop and it's good puppy, or they're not. And we have to go ahead and now follow through with that, that command. So if I don't have the ability to follow through with that command, I am not going to say quiet, because I've just then taught them that I can tell them quiet, but it doesn't mean anything. Hey, oh my goodness. It doesn't mean anything. So what I do is a squirt bottle, half water and half vinegar. With my puppies, if I'm teaching some barking control with the puppies, they're going to be on a long line anyways. But if I have a dog that is barking and then like running away from me, I have them on a long line or a leash as well, so that I can just say quiet. And if they stop, I don't have to do anything other than say good puppy. And if they don't, I can step on the leash, and they can, I can go ahead and give that correction. So the first couple times with the vinegar water, I actually do open the mouth and give a squirt in so they know what it is. After the first 2 times, I don't have to do that anymore. And I want to be clear on that, because I think sometimes the people that have worked with me, their understanding is they have to do this every time. So it really is the first 2 times. And then I'm just squirting it in their general direction, trying to hit their nose if at all possible, so they get that smell. So if they're barking and I say quiet and they don't stop, after the first couple times, I'm just going to squirt the vinegar water in their general direction. I've now followed through on that correction. I've just followed through on that correction. You need to go upstairs. My son is snuck downstairs after bedtime. Hey, you need to go upstairs, buddy. Okay, so if your whole goal about the barking is to tell them to quiet and then have them just move along, that's what you're going to start doing. We're going to have that squirt bottle by the door all the time, and I have it out there, and I don't put it away until I haven't had to use it for like 2 months in a row. So when Skippy, she's 3 now, but our last puppy, we had a squirt bottle by our front door for probably 10 months before I put it away, and then I would get it out as needed. So if I get to the point where 3 months in, she's like, oh look, I don't see the squirt bottle anymore, I'm going to go ahead and utilize that squirt bottle there so that I'll pull it out for a little bit so I can follow through with it. So if you're running into the issues with that vinegar water, we either have taught it wrong, or we've allowed them to get away with it, or a lot of times I see some defiance. So if you are a graduate and you've been working with that vinegar water, shoot me a message on here and let me know what you're doing and where you're seeing issues. So we can kind of go over that again. If you want the doorbell to ring and you to send your dog to a certain place, I will either have a dog bed, and then I will have a leash tied next to there. So the doorbell is going to ring. I'm going to give the dog a command, go to your spot. I'm going to walk them over. I'm going to clip them on the leash, and I'm going to walk and open the door, close it, go over and take them off. So nobody's going to be at the door, but I am going to start this process of when I hear the doorbell, we send them to their bed, and then I'm going to go to the door. They need to be there, and then we're going to go take them off of that. And that's going to be something that we are going to talk more in depth next week on. So just to kind of recap this week, what you will want to do, and go ahead and message me on this thread, and I will send you the doorbell guide. But what we're really going to do is we're going to spend 5 days desensitizing the dog to the doorbell, meaning we're not doing anything other than letting that doorbell ring again and again and again, and letting them get excited and crazy, and nothing happens. No one's yelling at them, no one's chasing them around, no one's going to the door. We're just making the doorbell not so exciting anymore. So you're going to follow that process day 1 through 4. On day 4, if there's no excitement, they may still bark a couple times, but if it shouldn't be like over the top crazy excited barking. If they're still there, you're going to go back to, if they get crazy excited, you're going to go back to day 1. If they don't, you're going to move on to day 5, which is someone is actually outside of your door ringing that doorbell. And then on day 5 is when you're going to start. This is the day where you're going to go, I either want them to just stop barking when I tell them quiet when the doorbell rings, or I do want them to start going to that a certain place, or drop into a downstay, whatever it is that you kind of want as a reaction to the doorbell. We can condition that, and that's what I'm going to talk about a lot next week, because next week we're going to kind of cover the overexcitement of people coming into our homes. And if the doorbell still is triggering that excitement, whatever we move on to next to kind of address that overexcitement really is going to be, I mean, we can make some progress, but not as much. We have to make that first moment when people like come to our house and the dog knows they're out there. If they're already so excited and way up here when that doorbell rings, what is going to happen when we do let the people in? Our dogs are still up here, and then they make really bad choices when they live in this headspace. So what we need to first do is make it so that that doorbell means not much. It makes it really, really, really just not a big deal. So those of you with multiple dog homes, you can do this separately. When I do the doorbell desensitization, I really do it with all the dogs that are there at all times. So if I have 5 dogs in the home, I am going to have them all loose. I'm going to hit play on that doorbell, and I'm going to go away and let all 5 dogs feed off of each other. And I'm not going to move forward on that day 4 unless all 5 dogs are calming. So again, on that day 4, they could still be barking a little bit, but we want them to be able to bring it down really, really, really fast. So are there any questions about kind of the process that we're going to go through on the guide. So I need you to, I think there should be a place where you can actually message me on this actual stream. That way I have you in my inbox. Otherwise it's, I'm still learning the groups. I think I added the messenger to it. I just got to figure out how it works. So, if you can see the place on this live where you can actually hit a button that says send a message, if you'll shoot me a message there, that will allow me to get it to you quicker. If you just leave a comment, I will make sure that you get it, but it might take just a little bit longer for me to figure out how to get it to you. But are there any questions? Kind of, I'll take 5 minutes for questions or anything that you'd like to chat about, but I will get that guide to you. You can kind of go through it. If you do have questions, let me know. Let me know, because every dog's going to react differently. Most dogs get it fairly quickly. There's no more chaos. It's not that big of a deal. So as we go through the next step, which is going to be the overexcitement when people come into the home, this is what you're really going to want to do first. So questions at all, I'll take them now. I think you can just type them in. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to try and do my lives on Monday nights. On Monday nights from 7 to 7:30 is kind of my plan, and every other week. I am going to do one next week just because the following week is right after Christmas. So we'll have one Monday of next week, and then the second, the first, or the, no, it would be the second. The 2nd of January, I believe, is, yeah. So that's kind of my plan as far as these lives go, so you can plan them. Video should be available on the Facebook page. I am going to start downloading them and uploading them to our YouTube channel, and then they'll be uploaded to a central location, and I will get that link out to you, so that way you can go through and you can click on whatever lives that I do. They'll all be in one spot for you, but it will take me probably a couple weeks to get that all put together. But yeah, you should have access to all of the lives that I do just on that Facebook page. I am really excited to be working with you in this group. So if you have questions at all at any time, feel free to DM me. I am happy to go over questions, things like that. Graduates, you have that free pass to class, and that includes the training support after you graduate. So please feel free to reach out. Those of you who are not clients, feel free to reach out with questions. I'm happy to answer what I can. Haley, go ahead. I have a couple minutes that I can take a question if you'd like. Thanks, Patty. It was good to have you. 2 dogs that have gone through training a year apart with some serious aggression where you've had to separate them. Yeah, if you want to shoot me an email, Haley, or a DM, let's chat. That is something that is going to be a lot more in depth. Depending on the dogs, I have dogs that we can work through and we get through it very, very quickly. And then there's some dogs that take more time. It just really is dependent kind of on the situation. I remember I had 2 dogs from the same household that got into a bird's nest, and they were at each other's throat. Like, they wanted to kill each other. They came in and I was like, okay, you guys, this is going to take a long time. 2 days later, she emailed me. She's like, look, they're best friends again. And so it just depends on everything that's going on in the home and that stuff. So sometimes we can get through it very quickly. Other times it might take a little bit longer. So if you want to shoot me an DM or an email, either way, I'm happy to kind of get some more information from you and go over kind of what I like to do as far as the aggression goes. But it typically, I need a lot of information from you. So when you send it, dogs ages, breeds, whether or not they're fixed, and then kind of what the first tussle was about, and then I should be able to get more information from you. But feel free to shoot me some information. I'll get back to you. Okay, guys, I am going to sign off, but again, any of you graduates, you're always welcome to email me with questions, concerns. I'm here. I'm your dog trainer for life, and so reach out. That's what I'm here for. Those of you that have not worked with me before, I am still here to help support you as well as I can. And we will be covering a lot of stuff, especially the stuff that you put on that welcome post are where I'm going to be pulling from and getting a lot of what we're going to do our live trainings on, or some of the guides that I put out there. So if you have questions, or if you have if you need support, feel free to post in the group as well, because other people may have ideas. I'll jump on and make sure I give you some information, but the group is here for support, so don't feel like you can't post questions or anything like that as well, because that's what we're here for. I'm here to do these live trainings. I'm going to do some posts, but feel free, if you have questions or concerns or anything like that, feel free to post it on the group page as well. So, all right, guys, it was good to see you, and I will send out the guide to you by tomorrow afternoon for those that have messaged me, and I will see you guys next week for overexcitement in dogs. So make sure that you are working on this desensitization first, because that really is going to make your life easier when it comes to actually now going and opening that door. So, okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.